In CS5, Adobe went and added some layers improvements to some of the things that we can do here inside of Photoshop. So just little tweaks and tips and things like that that make using layers easier. All right, so let's start off here. We've got an image where the middle is kind of a little bit bright. All right, well, I can go over to another image because I took another version of this where it's darker. Okay, it's underexposed, and I could take the quick selection tool and just make a real quick selection of that middle area here. Come over and go to the edit menu, choose copy. And if I come over to the other image, I can go to edit paste. But what happens is that it pastes it into the center of the document, which is what Photoshop does. However, in CS5, if you go up to edit, you'll see that there's an option paste special, and I can paste into place, and then I can come in here and reduce the opacity. But the benefit is that it keeps the coordinates of where whatever you copied was in the original image. It keeps that and it puts that into the next image. Okay, another one here. So we used to have to, if we wanted to change opacity of multiple layers or even layer groups, which is what I have here, we'd have to click on one, change the opacity, click on the next one, change the opacity. And you could see the menu that we have here. Well, in CS5, I can click on one, I can shift click on another one. So now I've selected multiple layers and or layer groups, and now I can come up here and reduce that opacity, and you can see it's changing it for all those layers. So again, just another usability kind of a thing that makes working with layers, which is a huge part of what we do in Photoshop, that makes working with them a lot easier. And a cool little thing for you is that you can now take images right from your desktop. So if I kind of scoot Photoshop to the side here, you can see my desktop. I've got a photo here. I can take it and I can drag it right into the Photoshop interface. Okay, you can move it around, and once you're ready, just hit enter or return. It comes in as a smart object, and what's nice about Photoshop, or just the preferences, I should say, in general, is that you could always come up here to your preferences. And if you look down here, place or drag images as smart objects, which is what we just did. If I don't want them to come in as smart objects, just turn that off and it goes in as a regular layer. Okay. And then the last one, which I think is pretty cool. If you use layer styles a lot, this one is huge, because let's go ahead and let's double click this layer to add a layer style. And what I'll do often here, I'm going to move it, let's move it off to the side here so you can see it. What I'll do often is add a stroke around this. I'm going to add a white border. So I change the color to white, and then I change the size and I increase that. And then I change the position to inside. And if you look at it a little bit more closely, you'll see that it gives just a nice crisp white border around the photo. Well, I do this a lot, and in fact, I do it more than I do anything else when it comes to strokes, so I make this the default. This is brand new in CS5. It makes the layer style stick each time you come inside of there, so that you don't have to reset these settings to the same exact thing every single time. Now, if you want to change it, of course you can. You can always come down here and reset it back to whatever the defaults were, but for me, that comes in as a lifesaver, especially because I do use layer styles a lot. Okay, and then another example would be the drop shadows. Okay, if I come up here, I always found the drop shadow, first off, I always want it to come from the top left. And then I always found the opacity way too high, so I reduced that. And I always increased the size to spread it out a little bit and just kind of make that shadow look more realistic. Well, this is one to make as the default. So then, every time you come in here, you don't have to change these settings each and every time to the same things that you're always changing them to. It'll stick with the layer style, and you'll always be able to automatically apply it instead of having to change it. Okay, so again, layers are a pretty big part of what we do inside of Photoshop. So when there's 4 or 5 enhancements that make working with layers easier, it's actually pretty significant. So you definitely want to give those little features a try.